No ding.
Ding!
Anyways,
Ding!
I was waiting for that. Saw that one coming. Anyways, good evening. We're back. I'm back. They're back. Dave's back after being gone for a really long time.
Quite a while.
Remember
So,
talking with Dave Wagner. He played Zod or Pharaoh Man or whatever we're calling him now these days. We're going to be talking to him since he won the Little Rock, Arkansas PTC. We're going to be going over fan requested deck tonight. We're going to look at that very predictable KOF trailer. And if you look closely enough, that trailer confirms 3 characters in KOF 14. Blink, but if you blink, you miss it. And also, we'll be looking at the 4 of the Indines spoilers, including the newest one that came out just for our show tonight. So, ooh, shiny. Also, I brought the Spider-Man backboard back because apparently I need to look like I'm getting ready to just be kidnapped by the wall crawler.
Pretty much.
we'll go with that.
All right, but anyways, Dave, in all your Dark Lord Sithiness, thank you for returning.
It's my crappy microphone, and yeah, you guys are stuck with it. It's fine. But yeah, no problem, guys. No problem.
Congratulations on Little Rock.
Thank you. It was a fun tournament. It was a long drive, but it was a fun tournament. So,
You guys love fire down there.
I'm pretty sure Atlanta, I won't say we're the only people that play that symbol, but we're the only people that play that symbol. Like,
We try to play it up here. It doesn't go well, though.
I never have the confidence to play it.
That's fair.
I need to break out of my mold of void. The best way to do that, the best way to do it will be to just get rid of my rain flushes and say, like, nope, they're gone. Now I can't play them.
Just play those broken ass index cards. All of them have fire on them, apparently.
All have fire and they all have order. Like, that order and fire just like, here, cards, good luck.
Yeah. Now we just need some earth cards, and then the 3 worst symbols can be good again.
All right. So do we want to just go ahead and leap right in since we got so much to do tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Works for me.
All right, so first of all, we'll start off with running down this great PTC here. Dave, you ran this Pharaoh Man deck. You were talking about earlier, like, this deck has no control pieces. You are just going for face. You're just going for blood, it looks like.
This deck is mad greedy. So it's a fire deck that's not running like S-class hunters. So that's about as greedy as it gets, honestly. If I was running this list in an actual like major, like large tournament, they would have definitely been in there. But the attack base would probably be about the same. Maybe like 1 or 2 cards.
I see out of your leagues. You've got control.
Yeah, it's got a couple tricks, but it's like it's a very straightforward version of this deck.
Yeah.
And again, it's a little greedy, but it worked out fine.
So what made you decide to go the straight aggro route rather than the more what we consistently see of Pharaoh Man, which is like the control check hack deck? I'm sorry, I cannot talk tonight.
No, you're good.
The control check deck, the other versions of control we usually see with him. What made you decide to just go with aggro?
So there's a few ways you can build Pharaoh Man, depending on what symbol you're running, obviously. Life gets the hedonism, or hedonist, or whatever the hell that card is. Yep. They get that gimmick, which is pretty good, and that's like a very compelling reason to play them off of Life. And frankly, Life's foundation base is a lot better than Fire's, and its attack base I don't think is quite as good. But you get some good throws, and you get some of this stuff overlaps, like Dragon Cannon, Pharaoh Shot, Pharaoh Wave overlap. But you don't get Saw Blades, you don't get any other real speed pump aside from your static ability, or continuous ability, or whatever you want to call it.
No shield
so,
ram.
yeah. And also no shield ram, and that's the problem, because I like that card a lot. Off of order, I haven't really messed around with him on order a lot,
think too many people have.
Yeah, Order's kind of in a rough spot right now, so
It won't be for long.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if the current trends continue with these previews, then yeah, Order will have some juice.
so I'm looking at the assets. Did his pyramid just not gel with this particular build, or
No, it doesn't do enough for the deck. I don't remember what it does. I think it does damage
It's damage reduction.
it's
Yeah.
damage reduction and it's control check hacks for foundations?
Right. Yeah, like that's not this deck's goal. What this deck wants to do 9 times out of 10, it usually doesn't turn 2 people. Occasionally you'll get like the dream hand of like Flash Lightning, triple shield ram into Dragon Cannon and you just kill somebody, right? But usually you're gonna poke with maybe 1 or 2 attacks turn 2 after a relatively solid turn 1 build. And speaking of greedy, this deck has 4 hidden laughter in it, which is way greedy. But
Well, you're trying to build 4. You're trying to guarantee the build 4 on turn 1.
right, and that was the mindset here. Is I felt like I knew. I'll get into that in a minute, but anyway, so your goal is establish a momentum turn 2, or at least a little bit of damage or something. Once this deck has momentum, it's kind of terrifying, right? Because you have 2 attacks that play really well off of it. You have Yami Barai to draw you cards when you have momentum. And you have stuff like Prototype that you can use it as an activator. Now, you have to earn it the hard way, right? There's no way to cheat your momentum in this deck. Spire just doesn't have a way to do it. It's not like Ghost Action, whatever how that thing's called.
Flash Lightning kind of cheats your momentum.
Flash Lightning cheats, but your opponent has to play into it, right? Like, and if your opponent is not paying attention enough to block a Flash Lightning when I Prototype down, okay, cool. That's great. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. What you do get is you get Flash Lightning as a reversal, and you get the YOLO. I already checked 3 foundations, or I've already passed 3 foundations, and I have 2 hidden lappers in my hand going first. So I'm just going to throw this Flash Lightning at you on my 4th card, and if I pass the check, you just kind of have to deal with it, and then I can just build the hidden lappers after it. So that's good. But yeah, that's usually the goal. It's usually set up a kill turn 2. If you can get Robot Masters down, then great. But you're usually going to try and push for a kill on turn 3 or 4. Me and Ben Shoemaker have been running variants on this list for like over a year.
Is this also like that initially part of the babyhood?
Yeah.
Turnaround?
Yeah. And I explained some of this in the post that I put up, the one that you guys have up now. So the more we played the 2 characters, right? Because originally we were both in love with BB Hood, and the fact that we could get her to very easily manipulate attack values to put them into like using stuff with Robot Masters and doubling up attack to draw cards with her and stuff like that. But so we both wanted to run the deck. And obviously with diversity, that becomes a problem because it's like, oh, well, if we run into each other in top cuts, or like close to top cuts, we have to knock one of each other out, and that sucks. So let's throw a different character on it. Came across Pharaohman, and the more we play the 2 of them, it's like, Pharaohman just kind of does everything we want to do better. So he kind of became the main face of the deck. And yeah, Dragon Cannon was the most recent addition. And this attack base is more tuned to running it as Pharaohman versus running it as BB, but obviously it's got Pharaoh shots of Pharaoh waves in it. So
yeah.
And those 2 cards were just nuts like the entire day. Pharaoh shot is just super aggravating. Like you have to respect it. You're either like setting up basically unblockable shield rams behind it, or I can throw like cats and busters behind it. They're just completely absurd to try and block. And Fairwave is just like, it's either stun, sometimes stun 2, sometimes stun like 4, sometimes stun 5, or I'm just like, cool, I'm just going to rip in more cards and just get to tee off on you. So yeah, it worked out really well. The BB Hood list would run Smile and Missile, because you can basically guarantee the attack double and draw a card if it connects, plus it's only a 4, which is nice. But This version just has much higher impact attacks, and Fairman just having a free way to push fake speed that your opponent really can't interact with at all. That was pretty clutch. So.
All right.
So.
But, yeah, the defense in the deck is my favorite part because it's like practically non-existent, but the few pieces it has are really good. So when people think 7-hand size and fire, they don't think of a deck that can block really well, and they don't think of a deck that is going to be able to survive a huge rush or deal with incredibly high-speed attacks. And frankly, they're right. But what you can do is, as a 7-hand size fire character, you have this great combination of Ball, Goro, and Errands for Grandma. And I feel like this has been kind of criminally overlooked because nobody plays fire. But what that lets you do is it doesn't matter how big the attack your opponent is throwing at you, it doesn't matter how fast it is. With those two cards in play and face up, that means no matter what, it can be a 45 damage Ultra Clockbuster, you're going to take 3. And that's it. So you react first with Errands to reduce the attack damage to 6 because you're a base 19 life character. And then you react again with Goro and reduce it down all the way to 3. And it's very hard to interact with that because it's both response speed. So I had one game in the finals against Pro Tucker, who was playing Dragon Cannon Ringman, and that deck is terrible. Where he launched with momentum like a 14 damage Dragon Cannon at me or something. It's like, cool, I'll take 3, I don't care. And he wasn't able to. I didn't have to block it, right? So he didn't get to trigger Dragon Cannon's Enhance and scoop up on like a what the hell's the card? Geyser, so he could tee off and kill me. So and the sideboard is throw defense. It's not the best throw defense, but it's relatively good throw defense in here. Revokes for a few matchups, which at least one of them should probably be in the main deck, maybe both. And Celestial Being, I think, is the other sideboard card.
Celestial Being's going to be a bigger card soon.
Yeah, that card's going to become really important really fast, and whenever Indines gets released. So, Stun is no joke. That's
quick question on one card in the deck.
Yeah, sure.
Talbane's Nunchucks. That's only a 1-of, but
it's my favorite 1-of.
How well has it been working?
So I decided kind of last minute to throw that card in, and it kind of falls into that same pattern, right? Like dealing with high-speed attacks without your damage reduction up is really hard in this deck. Even though if you look at the attack base outside of Pharaoh Shot and Chasm Buster, I think and Shield Ram, like all of your blocks on your attacks are really good. You've got a +1 mid. You have a +1 mid on Dragon Cannon, you have +2 high on +1 high on Fairway with Breaker. You have a +0 mid on Yami Barai, also with Breaker, and you have a +0 low on Flashlightning. So your block mods are nuts, right? But you don't have the ability of like Templar to draw your way out of like a bad defensive turn. You don't have that. So Talbane's Nunchucks is like self-clearing block, and I can draw into more blocks if I absolutely have to, or I can just turn it into gas next turn when I backswing you, and just dig for more shield against flashlights or whatever I'm looking for. Okay. So it's a 1-of, and it came in total like last minute, night before the tournament, like 2 o'clock in the morning, when I'm supposed to be like asleep because I have to do all the driving the next day. I'm like, if I run Talbane's Nunchuck, I'm like, I've never run this card. Yeah, fuck it, let's throw it in and let's see how it does. And it was actually really good. It was really, really good. It dug me out of a hole one game during Swiss, and I was able to pop it. And usually when you want to throw it on offense is after you've stunned your opponent out, right? So it doesn't matter if you're feeding them 2 cards, if they can't play them, you don't care. So, but yeah, it was actually pretty good. So it's actually pretty good. I don't think I'd run more than 1, but it was surprisingly pretty solid. So.
All right. Anyone else got questions about the deck?
It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you know me, guys. I love Zod.
I actually want to ask, did you catch anybody with you're at Desperation, die to Dragon Cannon?
I was able to I don't remember. I killed a guy with nothing but Dragon Cannon, but I don't remember. It wasn't on my first attack. Like I had to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
I did launch one for lethal, like right off the bat, right, to force a block. Uh, and that's usually what it does, right? Like, yeah, it's 5 speed, effective 6 speed based on Ferroman, which is awesome. And then you stack like Crit's Bloodline and Saw Blades on top of that, and suddenly your opponent's like, well, I have to completely overcommit to blocking this, or I'm just dead. And so if they tap out to block it, or commit out to block it, and I can scoop up shield rams behind it because it just tutors for one out of my discard pile, and it's ranged, so cool. I can just combo shield rams behind it, and you die. So, but yeah, that card is really strong. The more I played with Dragon Cannon throughout that weekend, and the more I talked about it with a couple other players, it's one of the best attacks in the format. It's just one of the hardest ones to use because it's in really weird symbols. It's a 2-check. Nobody plays fire. There's other options in life. Like people wanna, if people are running life, they want to run life.
Shiranui.
Oh man,
Shiranui, stuff like that. So
Harryoken.
Yeah, HRK and other like larger attacks like that, like off of all it's competing for slots with Geyser, of course. But if you can find a way to, like the biggest abuse with the card is the fact that it has reach on it. To be completely honest, and like in fire, it's just like yes, this is like the perfect piece to set up a kill turn because I make you burn resources to stop it. I force the issue. And then it doesn't have stun, but that thing is going to commit 5 or 6 cards every time it drops. So yeah, that card was an absolute rock star all weekend. So
all right, so we got quite a small burn on Dave's part here from Jose Fernandez, who wants to know why does the guy with the Google job sound like an underwater robot on a Google program?
Because I have like a $30 webcam and I don't care. That's why. So yeah, suck it, whatever.
You're like outperforming us. Come on.
Yeah.
And it looks like Jesse and Matt's cameras are frozen.
No, we're not.
Oh.
Yeah, I see him moving. Yeah.
Yeah, not on me.
Well, you're frozen then, Matt or Joe.
Say that might be on you, Joe.
All
yeah, my webcam.
Ah, there it goes. I just got done share the screen.
All right.
All right. So, do we have any more questions before we move on?
I think we're good.
No, I think let's move on. Let's do a quick rundown of the rest of the top 8 for this event.
Mm-hmm.
Second place.
And Jesse, also do the rundown for UK too, if you could.
Yeah, we'll do that right after this. We'll just we'll run this one first. So, rest of the event, we have Bo Tucker coming in second with All Ringman, Trinity Geyser, Deck. A couple of spicy cards in here that don't see a lot of play. Like, this deck was really on the Geyser plan. Like, it's playing Never Back Down, Mega Ball. Like, it is on the...
Mega Ball.
Yeah, like, it really wants to pass that Geyser.
I got legitimately turn 1 Geyser by that deck in top cuts.
Yeah,
in finals. So
I believe it when Mega Ball's involved.
Yeah, so Bo Tucker does not give a shit. He will swing Geysers during a build turn and not care. That deck also runs Dragon Cannon, I would like to note. And yeah, so you had 2 Dragon Cannon decks in finals of this tournament, which was pretty cool.
Next up, we have James Stevens playing Eva 2-Dot Life Stack of Doom.
Yep.
This big deck's been floating around a lot lately, getting different interpretations every time we see it. Fourth place, Chris Nixon playing Metal Man Void. Another deck that's been kind of like Metal Man's kind of one of those things, and let me tell you, I'm waiting for one of them to show up at a major and just blow some people out. We'll see.
I mean, there's a Metal Man in top 16 at Gen Con, or at Worlds this past year.
That's true. The one that was like had a pile of draws and got in. Like
yeah, kind of snuck in on diversity, but
I think
it did make it. So.
I think the new set will indirectly end up making 6-handers stronger. So that could potentially push up Metal Man seeing play.
True.
Possible, sure.
Fifth place, Aaron Young playing Jetto Water. It looks like the pretty traditional tornado kick build. No suplexes yet in this deck. Us in the Rochester area are dealing with the suplex Jetta deck. It is not fun. It is annoying. God damn that card. Sixth place, Mason Johnson playing his Fire Clark deck. His version obviously plays, I don't know, more aggressive, I want to say. Playing a different attack lineup from when we see when Piglet helms this deck. Plus, just a different grouping of cards. Like only one Order of Hider in this list.
Ugh.
And yeah, he's just some different stuff. Let's see. Seventh place, Ronnie Garland playing the Bomb-Man Death deck. This deck's annoying and scary, and you should fear it if you're playing against him.
That deck reads, if your deck does not have an answer to Ed Seal, you will probably get blown up by it.
Yeah.
The original very early on builds that Brian Field, the original creator, played, very early on, if I played a Revoke against him, he would just scoop immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that deck has its flaws, but and Hot Rod as well as his nickname is. Hot Rod is well aware of that deck's flaws, but he does not care.
Yeah.
I think he's retiring it after the PTC because that's exactly what happens. But he was my round one opponent for Top Cuts, and he kind of ran into that same issue of I sideboarded in my Revokes game 2 and 3, or game, I don't remember if we got to game 3 or not, I can't remember. Either way, I sided in my Revokes after game 1, and I just mulligan for 1, and he would try to go off, and I'd just be like, no, and then he'd be like, well, I have no hand, and I guess I'm kind of fucked. And that's kind of how that deck goes. But that said, that man does run 4 copies of Showdown in the deck, so he does have an out against it, but it's a very expensive out. So,
yeah. And then finally in 8th place, got Ben Shoemaker, who played the Athena's Assets pile.
Yep.
It looks like he almost played Kevin's exact list.
No,
there are some interesting things. There's a few things, but it's it looks about the same.
We tuned it a bit. We added a couple more foundations, tweaked the asset count a little. But yeah, I mean they're pretty similar, right? There's a little bit you can do with that loadout that you can make adjustments in, but there's only so many assets in the game, right?
Yeah.
And there's only so many valid attacks for a deck like that. You can get cute and start running what the hell is that? Her attack, her character only one, not character only one, but you know what I'm talking about. Psycho Medley.
Yeah.
But frankly, it's just not as good as some of the other options that are already in that list, basically.
Yeah.
And frankly, Ben hit a series of absolutely horrific checks on his kill shots in Top Cuts. And I still think that deck is one of the best in the format right now. It's just ridiculous. But
yeah, we're playing against it weekly, being piloted by Sean, and it's just
yeah, it's
okay.
it's one of those. It's okay, well, if I can't either race it or interact with it in a meaningful manner when it's trying to go off, then you just get run over.
Yeah.
So yeah, plan your list with that in mind, I guess. I don't know. So who knows? Maybe Indines will have some explode that's just blow up all the assets forever, and your opponent never gets to play again. I don't know. At this point,
there are spine sweeps coming out.
Yeah, that card is going to be a thing. I don't know if that card matters that much against that deck. It's a speed bump for it, sure, but that means you're stuck running spine sweep. And that card is okay as a sideboard card, but that card, even in those symbols, in an aggressive deck that wants to have to race Athena, it doesn't do anything for any of those symbols attack bases other than just disrupt her game plan a little bit.
I actually have been testing it, and I actually prefer in a lot of my Earth decks that are not throw centric I'm preferring it over Necro Driver.
Yeah, that's
like it just does more. Like you don't have to do it immediately. There's just ways that it allows you to play differently, and that's why I've been liking it. I mean,
that +1 high block. That's
like the stats on the card are pretty solid, but I mean, I'll go off on a little tangent. Like UFS right now is at the point where your card needs to do, your attacks need to do proactive stuff for you on your turns, whether it's gaining you momentum, drawing you cards, or like breaking down an opponent's board. And you get to break down the assets there, and that's cute. But how many decks does that really matter against? Is it just Athena in the format right now? That's arguable, right? If you look at my fire list, right, having those assets in play is nice, but none of them are essential, right? There's very few decks right now, I think, that aside from Athena, obviously, and she almost doesn't care which asset she has in play, just as long as she has some, that are super required to have an asset down in order to go off or in order to not die or so on and so forth. So I don't know. I think the card's fine for sideboard, but I would have a tough time putting it in my main deck off of any of its symbols, frankly. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just me, though.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's run down the UK. Had their most recent Pro Tour this past weekend, and the UK, as always, decides to surprise us with something out of left field. Mega Man. Ryogo Paul won the event with a all one-dot range-based Mega Man deck. I don't. I'm not gonna say that this deck. I will say this. I like a lot of the things. I like the objective of his deck. Just pretty much utilizing a lot of the tin cards that you see play once in a while, but they don't get a lot of play. Like Pursuit of Dr. Wily, the freaking One Diff Foundation. Where is it on the list here?
Super Fighting Robot?
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, Super Fighting Robot.
Blue Bomber.
Like those cards don't see a lot of play here for the most part. And let me tell you, though, like Blue Bomber, +4 damage. If you could set that up properly, like with the reversals, it just slams 4 damage extra to anything. It's great.
That deck's gonna love Lightning Judgment.
Yeah, that deck's gonna have a lot of fun with Lightning Judgment. I think it's a very I watched 2 videos they posted of Ryu playing the deck, and he was going deep on turn 2 and 3. He was I watched him go play on the Erectual Blade Strike with 3 foundations up, activate all the effects on his foundations, and then blow up a foundation for the damage bonus. Just going deep. Those guys play some weird UFS over there, it seems. If I watched the video of Game 1 of the finals, he threw a 15 damage move that the Felicia tried to... it was a 10 damage move. The Felicia player, Daniel, tried to play dodge to it. Failed the dodge, so he took 15. He's scoop it up.
That's a rough day.
That's a rough day, yeah. We'll run this down real quick here. Second place was obviously Air Felicia, played by Daniel Morris, running the Nevos, pretty much the kick combinations we've been seeing for a while.
The kick package.
It's been running pretty aggressive. Then we had Nathan playing the Infinite Loops Air Zoe deck with 23 actions main deck.
And what you have to do for that deck, so yeah.
Yeah. Next was Jack Hawkins playing the Life Mai, just slamming Mai down people's throats. I mean, that's what she does, and she does it really well. Then 5th place, Jordan playing the Life C deck.
CA
deck. And This is probably the most interesting deck list that's popped up in a long time. It's running 23 additional characters, CA's ability to place one of them as face-down foundations, and 6 check foundations, and just gigantic moves.
Yeah, Jesse.
Yeah?
Remember when we first started UFS, the guy who played the 7-hand side Sagat deck with like 40...
Oh, one of the brothers was doing that back in the day. Yep.
There's like 1 or 2 of them. It was so fun. It's like, I'm gonna Tiger.
We had that running around in Atlanta for a little while too, like way back in the day. Yeah.
Like you play the giant Ivy, the giant set 2 Ivy moves. You're just like, play this on turn 1, play this 1 check attack, and just like, oh, stun 4 you.
That's
like,
it. Good luck. Yeah.
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 Oh. But yeah, this I will say it's cool to see a list like this, see it do well. Does it have some viability? I bet some tuning could be done. Like it's a tight deck already. Maybe attacks. We'll see what happens. Maybe somebody will take it, do some manipulation. Maybe it'll show up elsewhere. Heck, what? Yeah, it's one of those that it is kind of gimmicky. I will agree, but it's cool to see a different character doing something completely different from the rest of the field.
I think there's not enough characters.
I remember looking at the list. There's like 23 characters in that list.
23. Yep.
Okay.
He literally was stuffing characters in the deck. It looks like. Because there's not like there's 4 of certain ones. There's like get 2 max. Just like I put a Yuri in here and a Morgan and a Mai and a Jiffin.
Just open up your binder and just be like life.
Like shake it out into it, basically. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
6th place, we had Richard playing the Assets Athena deck list. Definitely a deck that's out there now. People should be aware of it. 7th place, David Hancock playing Life Yuri, which is a character you do not see floating around a lot, but I think it more shows that Life is just so good right now. That like you can put a lot of characters in front of that symbol and you can do solid with it.
Yep. It's arguably got the deepest card pool in Standard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that and Air and all to some extent.
Yeah.
Are probably the 3 deepest symbols. So. And coincidentally, they both have Templar and Sardi, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Is your card? Are you playing a deck with those symbols? Oh, this card's auto for you.
Yeah, it's an auto 7 or 8 slots.
Yep.
Just kind of have to be those 2 cards.
Then 8th place, Nathan Squire playing 2-dot Alt Harry. That deck is. I always enjoy this deck because I just like how this Terry works.
Is it the throw down Terry?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like throw it down. Uses throw it down, not over yet, and just launching big moves. Making a move big and launch it at your opponent.
Are we sure it wasn't actually Miles playing?
No.
No, last place Terry won. I know that for a fact because I see him in every tournament I go to. So yeah.
So big thing out of the top A list from this event, we're finally starting to see some play of I'm alone with my Joker and you in deck lists. That's surprising. I mean, I'm starting to understand the design of that card, but you're playing with fire when you're giving your opponent a free draw card on your turn. Like I'm gonna see how I'm gonna finally play in a deck with it this week, and I'm gonna be like, okay, let's see how many times they remember versus me remembering the effect.
Yeah. Not wrong. So my takeaways from this topic, yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird pile of decks. Like there's 1, maybe 2 lists in there that you would expect to see at a U.S. top cuts. Right?
Yeah.
And that's frankly just the Athena and just the Felicia.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, against that field, I am shocked that Athena just didn't steamroll its way through it. I will say this, though. That Athena deck is not easy to play. that. Like,
It is not.
not easy to play. If you don't have reps with it, you will screw it up, and I'm just as guilty of doing that as anyone else, right?
Oh, I've done it. I've been playing it with. I mean, Sean's been playing it since Kevin got back from nationals, and the first few weeks, like, I was playing the Clark deck prepping for PDC in Poughkeepsie, and he's like, "Why are you not using superior techniques to pick up your just pick up your leaf shields and just completely screw me out of the game?" He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
I can do that."
It's an aggressive deck, but it plays more like a combo deck, right? Like there's a ton of moving parts to that list, and it's very easy to miss triggers, and it's very easy to miss like little tiny windows of advantage and stuff like that. Like it's good, and props to like people that can run it out to top cuts and do well with it. Like clearly it's Robert's baby, and he probably plays it better than anybody right now. But it's not a simple list to pilot. Like you'll have games where it's just like, oh, I have double to Forester, so I can do whatever the hell I want, and just like if I make a mistake, it doesn't matter because I can Shinobi tradition my way out of it basically. But
I will say that Rio beat this deck in the first round of top 8, and the only reason he won was because he was playing Mega Man. Like if he was playing a different
down the Foresters, so yeah.
Like you need a way to control the Forester.
The fact that like I didn't know that was the first top cuts match of his, so that does make sense, right? Like that's a strangely difficult matchup for Athena against.
Yeah, like Athena.
How often are you gonna see
we
that?
know
I don't know.
we know the Dimitri deck is kind of what we're like. We know the Dimitri matchup is pretty tough for that deck. Kevin's adapted to it since when he plays the deck since Worlds, but like there's not a lot of deck. Like people are starting to become more aware of it. Like it's not like the next time that when we get to the 2K and if Kevin's rolling that deck around, like people are know what they're
no. And that's a big reason why it did so well. Like frankly, number one, it's a very strong deck. Period. But there's a lot of very strong decks in the format. But it was more like Atlanta just completely whiffed on that. Like we looked at the list that he used to run at Rochester, and we're like, oh, that deck's cute. Like that's neat what it does. And then we forgot superior technique, got back in the format, and it was like, oh, now this is retarded. Like okay, like this deck went from like a solid A to like, wow, this is like an S tier deck now. Okay, like we just completely missed. Prepping against it. But anyway, that's neither. But the cat's out of the bag on it. Like that deck's not going to go anywhere unless pieces to it get addressed, and it's debatable whether or not they should because again, like the skill floor on that deck is really, really high. The skill requirement on that deck is relatively high, and it can kind of fall on its face if you get knee-deep in a kill turn, and your opponent has outs that don't require them to like actually block or like dodge your shit back up, and I don't know. There's outs against it, but it is very strong. Like that deck is. I'm not taking anything away from that list at all. That deck is really good. I don't know. Other decks in there. I'm poking around here. Like,
guys.
What?
Huh?
We still got to go through a deck and.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Again, I'll summarize briefly. Like, I feel like the UK meta is very raw compared to even what we saw at Worlds, and maybe it's just people running pet decks out to like big events, right? And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like there's very few decks on that top 8 roster that I would be scared to throw that Pharaoh Man list in front of it. Be like, I might actually lose this match. Like, and that would be like the tournament ready Pharaoh Man with a couple of the adjustments that I was mentioning. But and I'm not saying Pharaoh Man's the best deck in the format either because he's not. but he pairs up pretty well against a lot of the top stuff. So I don't know. So maybe that's a challenge to UK. Come over here and come to Gen Con and prove me wrong.
Well, somebody's going to win a PTC over there, win their big circuit for the PTCs, and it's going to show up at Nationals at some point.
Yeah,
we'll find out.
True. That is true.
Has Nationals been announced at Gen Con yet, or?
Nope.
We don't know what's going on.
Okay, then.
It's completely baffling to me, but that's...
All right. Is that it for UK?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's it for the UK.
Okay, so next up we have a deck request by Stephen Jennings out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He wanted us to look over his deck.
Canada.
Thoughts and critiques. It is a airtime man deck.
Canada.
I'm gonna have to look that character up. I don't remember what he does.
He
Is
I
that
don't
the
know if we
control check guy? Like,
He adds speed equal to half the attack sprinted damage.
oh god, okay.
And yeah, you get discard momentum to make all checks -1.
Alright.
Alright, there's 4 combustion orbs, so that's good.
he's got the 4 combustion orb. He's got the focus charge, air typhoon plan, which is kind of a thing that's been a lot of. He will keep tossing it around, but I never see anybody commit to it. Like this
I
is
was really hype on that when it first.
this is a really good, 66 card air deck. This is what, if you take all the fluff out of air and you just want to run the key components of the deck, this is the deck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just briefly glancing at this list, and he's got pretty much all of Air's good pieces in it, right? Like the foundation base looks totally fine.
Really, I actually was thinking he needs more spam foundations.
No,
Really?
Curl like any other, he's got Muay Thai, he's got second chance, he's got build for speed.
you don't need them. If you can use them, but I mean, it's
He's a 6-hander.
He's a six-hander too, and he's already running, what's it, 8?
9.
No, 9 pieces of spam. It's maybe a little bit light, but not horrifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like one other, but again, as a six-hander, and I think this was brought. I don't remember who brought this up, but they phrased it probably better than I'll be able to. I don't remember if it was a post I read or something like that, but like as a six-hand size character, you can't run the 12 to 16 pieces of spam that seven-hander can get away with, because you have to have higher impact on your foundations, right?
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to be playing less of them over the course of the game than a 7 or 8-hander if you're fucking jiffy jammer is going to be able to run. So I don't hate the amount of spam. He's got 9 in there right now, it looks like, including his Zero Death.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's probably fine. Plus, yeah.
The one thing would maybe be 1 or 2 more copies of Champion in Muay Thai.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would suggest, and that's because, like I was talking about, high impact cards. That's a really high impact card in defense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I maybe go.
Would he be dropping like the 88 miles per hour down to one of and?
You probably dig into the 2s a little bit, like.
You can drop an 88. Yeah. What does he get off Uncovering the Truth? Why is he running that card? I'm trying to figure that out.
Which one?
Uncover the Truth. It's like, it's an anti-reversal card. It's
that you can probably move to sideboard and just replace it with a Muay Thai. Unless his local meta is just a mess of reversal decks, then I think that's an easy. That's a sideboard card. And maybe one of the 88s and then just go up to 3 champs. Other than that, that's just like generic air good stuff, which is totally fine because generic air good stuff is really good.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about it. What the hell does Tassinai do? I forget. Let me look that card up.
It's whenever your opponent would play a speed bonus, they have to commit an additional foundation, I believe.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I won't lie, I got blown out by that card once.
If he's enough Felicia,
Tao Sensei. I got Tao Senai or whatever that.
Tassinai?
Yeah, Tao Senai. I got blown out at my first round of the Rochester PTC. I was playing against this player from Hamilton, Ontario, and he was playing like Tao Sensei. He was playing Drinking, and I'm like, I just got blown out to this deck, and I'm like, what did I just lose to?
Yeah, it's like I have to read every single card this guy plays because none of them are good. No, the only way I can justify keeping this card in my deck is if his local meta is a shitload of Felicia, which is not uncommon. right? Because it's straight out of the starter deck if there's a bunch of newer players around. Like, that's a legitimate thing. So in that case, then yeah, you might want to keep that main, just to buy you a turn against Felicia. But if not, that's probably something you might be able to move to sideboard too. Like 3/4 with a crappy block and an ability that removes itself, and your opponent can just say, "Cool, I'm just going to build," and you're just down a foundation for no reason. Like, I don't know. I'm not sold on that card. What does 88 scoop him up? Does he get anything off that card?
Wait. Why is 88 in here?
Why is 88 in his deck?
Is it really just for momentum discard? Which there's got to be that.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this: if he's in, like, there's better cards.
There's no way you can justify this card in this deck. That sounds very harsh, but there's literally no way you can justify this card in this deck.
Yeah.
Like,
You can't just play a 3/5 for E-commit discard momentum. I mean,
And then you think the block is this air deck does not have a lot of high blocks.
no, but there's better high blocks.
You can find better
You
high
can
blocks.
play the.
You can play Navote.
You can play in more built for speeds that
Yeah.
fixes his spam count and gives him the same high
And gives them
I
more high
mean, you
blocks.
could play the freaking Wily Foundation that's like discard a card, block with the card, pick it back up with his Navos. Like, you can put that in there over playing this card. Like, it's
a little janky, but yeah, like that's a better option.
I'm going into the Garrett Jank zone. Jank.
Yeah, that's a bit down the rabbit hole.
Welcome to the Jinx.
Yeah. So yeah, that card I think you get cut entirely. Yeah, like if you're that worried about your opponent getting them down, just kill them and make them die. Again, just a brief look at this list. To me, it looks like this dude is playing against a whole mess of Felicia in his area, and he's making a meta call that, like, yes, it's a 3/5, and I just need it to be able to shut her off turn 2, right? And if that's the case, and if that's what's going to win him games locally, okay, cool. Like, by all means, like, run that game plan out there. Like, you kind of have to cater your strategy around what you know you're going to be facing on like if you play weeklies, like Atlanta's weird, right? And this is kind of a tangent, but Atlanta's weird in that we don't play out of shops. We just play out of like people's apartments and shit. And all we do is prep for big tournaments. We don't really like run mini tourneys or anything like that. We're just like, yeah, let's see if this works, and we'll throw it up against established stuff, and we'll try and break the format, right? Like, I'm not worried about going to a local and winning, a 9 or 10 person tournament. But if that is what you're doing, if that is what your goal is, right, is to compete at your locals, and Felicia is running rampant, which again is not uncommon. And with as easy as that deck is, frankly, to put together, even without some of the powerhouse cards like Navos, like, you can literally take her starting deck attack base, and it's good. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Especially if you can dig up like 2 of Dancing Flash and just throw that in there too, and find another couple kicks somewhere like Tiger kicks. Who cares, right? And so if you're playing against that a ton, then maybe 88 is the right call, right? But that's something I would leave on the proverbial fence if I was taking it to a major where the Felicia count is going to be diluted just because of diversity, and people are terrified of, like, okay, well, I know Felicia's good, but I have to be the best one out of like 120 people, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little different set of circumstances. At a local, nobody cares, right? Usually you don't even do a top cut at a local, it's just best records. So, so maybe for him it is the correct call, but for a larger metagame picture, that card does not do enough for a 3 difficulty in this deck. If you're going to run it, cool, then run some flash stuff so it's just not completely dead with the form, right? Because that's the best reason to run that card, is just go digging for Chasm or Conquest or something. So anyway, we can move on from there.
Okay.
All right.
Now, what do we think of this overall? I mean, aside from
This is a good locals. Go to the locals, run this deck, have a good. This is a good deck for that. It definitely needs some sprucing up if he wants to bring it to, like, say, a PTC or a Nationals.
Yeah, so the attack base looks okay. It's Like, I get why Combustion Orb is in the deck.
It fits for the character. I'll say that.
Yeah, I never... Yeah, you've got enough high base speed, except for the boats, which is kind of just like, yeah, whatever, it's an extra +1, and it's a free enhance on it, so I guess that's okay. Yeah.
Well, it's got some printed damage, so it brings it to 5 speed.
Oh, it is printed damage, okay. Yeah, that's not terrible then. Yeah, I think the attack base is fine for what he's trying to do. I'm not in love with it. I'd love to see like Sagaki offering in here. Probably over
Thunderbeam.
Probably, yeah, maybe over Thunderbeam. Maybe even over Navos. I know that's like sacrilege to say.
Yeah,
that,
that's where I originally wanted to go to, but
yeah.
like I'm one of those people that originally I thought Navos was a bad card. I didn't value that card for so long.
So here's the thing with that card, and I've had this discussion with a number of players. Unless you absolutely 100% have a way to like guarantee that attack sticking, it is always 2 speed, or in this case, I guess 5, right? Plus Eric Tiki, so 6. It can be a bajillion damage, and it almost never matters, right? Against good players, you are very rarely going to surprise them with the Navos. The biggest strength of that card is the threat of it. And your opponent kind of having to play around it a little bit. But that card loses to plus omits like all day. And there's a lot of really good plus omits in this format. Like even in this deck, like where you do get a nice little speed bump for it, or even in Felicia, right, which is basically doing the same thing that this deck is trying to do, which is effectively +3 speed on just about everything he's playing. You just don't need the momentum ramp to get there. Even in Felicia, Navos is almost always the easiest card to block in that deck. So you have to respect it, but it's not that hard to deal with. So since he hasn't locked himself into like the kick pile that Air is kind of notorious for running now after Worlds, he can maybe branch out a little bit and run a card like Sagaki offering that you get a lot of value off of because it replaces itself. Maybe over Thunderbeam, I don't know. Yeah, I think Navos is okay in here. I don't think it's awful, and I think that since you're a 6-gander, you can leverage your health a little bit with your card. But the way you're going to force this card through in this deck is at the end of a long string, and this deck has no way to put a long string together other than drawing into it naturally, and that's kind of an issue. So.
All
right. We got about 5 minutes left in this show. Joe, I think we should just let's just do our own spoiler. I think tonight I think when we have more time on another week, we will go through more stuff, what's been previewed. But yeah, there's a good thing about tonight, guys. We have our own exclusive spoiler for this evening.
All right. Well, first off, how is this even pronounced? Right?
Let me see it again.
I was going to say, I haven't even seen this yet, so.
I don't speak Indines.
I get it. So.
I speak level 99, so.
Here you know.
Airlight, maybe?
Yeah, Airlight Key.
Airlight?
Okay, Airlight. Okay, so this is Airlight Key, 2 for 5, +3 high. I really do like the new shield aesthetic for blocks. This is really going to make it easier for new people. This is a Kadath card. It's got Kadath symbols. It's got a very awkwardly worded, but I do understand this R. It's Kadath R. Before you destroy one of your foundations or discard one of your momentum as part of a cost, you may destroy or discard this card instead. I actually understand what this is. This is very oddly worded. I'll let these two speak of it because they were on a whole tirade earlier about this. And then we got response commit. After your opponent plays an attack, you may play the first enhance during this enhanced step. So this R pretty much gives you Satoshi's first D always ability.
Mm-hmm. And then the Kadath R is basically... I'm getting that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Then I mean, you.
That's probably
But there's nothing open.
That's weird.
Google doesn't like you.
Well, it's my computer today.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah. It basically is a slightly better K-Dash's glove. So, But the awkward part about it is that it says before you destroy Foundation or discard momentum as a cost, you may destroy or discard this card instead. The discard part seems superfluous or allows you to. It leads in saying that you could discard this from your hand. I think when they were writing this card, they were like, oh, you don't destroy momentum, you discard momentum, so we'll write discard. And they weren't thinking that that's not quite how that would work.
I mean, I'm gonna pull up the LGR right. Give me a second. I'll pull up the LGR and I'll double check it because I know there was a new thing with how it works with. Just take a second.
It was gone.
He keeps coming back and forth. It looks like you're having there's a little bit of delay occurring, and now we're somehow getting the feedback.
Weird.
I'm running everything with my iPhones, but anyway, so initial thoughts on this card. The Arkham is pretty good. I don't know if it warrants an asset slot in its entirety, but it's pretty good. And it depends on how that KDAF art works. If it works like it reads, then you can pitch it out of hand to pay cost on his response, his character response, which is pretty strong. It turns into MIDI like OG Cassandra. And that's pretty solid. Because I don't know how it would work any other way. So,
you also can discard it from your hands to pay for a multiple cost.
Yeah, that's true.
Surprise!
That's true. That's
I actually can tribute.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. It's probably as weird as it sounds, the least ridiculous card that they've read so far out of the Indines stuff. But if it works the way that we think it works, you can pitch it out of hand, then it definitely has a home again. How good he's going to be is up for debate because a 6-hand size board control character is already kind of behind an 8-ball against 7-handers.
Yeah, if he ends up being good with the rest of his support, I could see playing this card to just turn off your opponent's enhanced stuff completely.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing you can do, but again, it's all a character specifically just to do that worth it, right?
That's why I'm saying does the rest of his support make it worth playing this character?
Right.
Okay, right here. Okay, guys, there's a implications. A reference or instruction to discard a card means to discard a card from your hand.
Right. So my question is.
So this is before you destroy a foundation or discard a momentum, before you do one of these two effects, they would have that as cost. You may destroy it in play or discard it from your hand.
Right.
It's a short. It was a shorthand change in the LGR, so it's there in the LGR to be worded like that.
If it works that way, then the card's pretty solid for him. Yeah, I don't think I'd play it in anybody else, but frankly, that our commit's fine, but it's not
it's pretty good at him when you're just like, I'll take the first one, use my ability, go. Use my ability, go to blocks.
Yeah, and again, just like Mr. Hughes earlier said, it's going to really depend on the rest of the support. And give me a compelling reason. How am I going to kill people after posing them for a little bit?
From the things that I got Jason to say during the stream last night in chat, I'm wondering if a lot of the characters are going to be like that, because he did say that the characters are generally weaker, but when they're with the rest of their support, it'll end up being really strong.
That's right.
So we'll see.
You gotta understand that this set is This is a set that's supposed to help cross promote the game and kind of get players who play BattleCon and are into the world and need stuff over, kind of pull them into UFS a little bit, and so having characters that are straightforward and cards in their turbo deck to be straightforward with them, I wouldn't be surprised if the cards within the turbo decks are going to be very character centric, and then the rares, all the rares we've seen in the previews so far, are going to be like the really crazy cards. That's my
That
thought
seems
right
like
now.
a pattern we're going with so far.
And that's fine. I mean, I like to be able to show get a player who wants to try this game and like BattleCon and be like, okay, let's fool with this, and I can they have a whole deck that's their character, like they're playing a game of BattleCon where you're using all their own characters' effects.
Yeah, I mean, I know Brian's getting back in UFS because of this set.
Yeah.
Like
he's gonna
pick up a set of decks.
This is a different design style for a set too. That's the other thing you got to realize is this is kind of a test of, can we make this game on release a starter set with these extra rares, and does that work as a set design system?
Yeah, it's almost a step, and it's not quite there, but it's almost a step sort of towards the Fantasy Flight LCG model.
Yes. I'd say it's somewhere in between.
It's a little bit in the middle, which I'm kind of okay with that, right? I'm cool with buying fixed product. I play a couple LCGs right now. I play Versus System, and I used to play a shitload of Netrunner. And I like that model a lot. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the closest we can get to a fixed system for releases, and it's good for these one-off sets kind of thing. Like, if this is going to be the 1X set of Indines, this is a good way to distribute it. I'm thinking, I wouldn't be surprised if, say, we get to the Cowboy Bebop set and it gets released in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. I think it's a nice balance because you're still giving players a reason to buy multiple. Basically, you're telling your players, and I've talked to I think Shane about this. It's you're telling your players, if you throw down for 2 basically display cases of this set, you're probably going to have 95% of what you need, and then you can just go find those extra couple orders elsewhere.
My plan is I had 2 of them that were owed to me. One of them's going to Jeff because I owed him a while back, and we're just between the 2 of us. I'll just trade so he gets a set of everything, and I'll just have just enough rares that I want.
Yeah, me, Shu, and Drew when he gets to play pool cards, and it'll be nice to not have to throw down a couple close to $1,000 on a set release just because we need multiples of almost everything, and it's a pain in the ass. And not every player is in a position to make even that kind of financial investment, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing. But even it's also nice because if you play a specific character, you buy 2 of their deck.
And you're probably in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you have a set of all of their stuff, and then you have 36 rares in the chances to get the other rares you want of your character and
pretty
to trade
easy to trade around for locals for that. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
We need to. I do apologize. We do need to end this at some point.
Yeah.
I think we're at a good point to stop for the night. I think we can. We'll probably just do both of the KOF spoilers maybe at the beginning of the show next week.
Yep.
We obviously next week we will have Brad from Level 99 Games on. We're going to be talking about Millennium Blades. And we've also secured a spoiler in honor of Brad and I can't wait we get to talk about it. But we have to wait till next week.
Anyone who knows Brad, it's his favorite character.
From Indines.
Yep.
And I get to tell Brad what it's like being playing Indines for 2 weeks.
We might have a little bit about Exceed, depending if he gets stuff in the mail for that.
Yep.
So we're going to be talking about some different stuff next week. We'll obviously post the preview card right after at about a half hour at the latest after the show. Trying to get people to watch the show or dig through our show to find it.
Yeah, it's not too hard. I actually, anytime we have Brad on, we're using the Indines header as opposed to the Total Justice header.
Okay. All right, guys.
Also, Remember, we
got
got 2 other shows we promote now. Tuesdays we got Get Good, where I suck with Alex and do marginally better with Laura. And then starting Sundays on my PlayStation 4, we're also going to be doing what's called Smite Sundays, where I play Smite on PS4. It may be slightly less of a show on Sunday because it is WrestleMania Sunday.
That is true. It'll be WrestleMania Sunday.
Also, hit us up as we are all playing Heroes of the Storm. I'm actually back into that game, which I probably will bother these two if they want a game after this. And that'll be it for us tonight. Thank you,
Dave, thanks for coming on, as
Thank you,
always.
Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
As always, it was wonderful having you. I apologize for cutting you short, Dave. I really am.
No worries.
We also want to
Yeah,
thank
fun.
Desmu out in Canada for asking us to review your deck. Guys, we have no problem doing that for you at all. Just feel free to hit me, Matt, or Jesse up. And
I don't know. He was from Canada.
he's not from Garrett Brett's Canada.
You mean Garrett Brett owns a part of Canada?
I would think so. He wins it.
I thought. Oh yeah, he owns Montana or whatever they refer to it as.
Montana?
Montana.
I thought he just annexed Canada for himself and gave a little piece to Devin.
All right.
Okay, so yep, we'll see everybody next week. I'll see everybody this weekend. I may actually run some Alex tomorrow night. I really want to try and get good with him, but he is a pokey, grabby kind of guy.
Yep.
And I like my fighters to run in and smash face and then be grabby.
Yep. All right, guys.
We'll see you next week.
Night, folks.
Night, everybody.